Hi and welcome back to the channel. This time we are going to be looking at the different types of cooking stoves that are out there, and I'll also be showing my progression from what I started off with to what I have now. If you like what we do here, please like, share and subscribe. It all helps the channel out and it doesn't cost you anything. Right, so let's get on with the video.
In the beginning,
I started camping and wild camping when I was in high school, moving on to my days in the army. When I started off, a lot of the stoves that were out there were pretty much fuel based. You'd get flammable liquid, pour it into a little pot and you would use that. You wouldn't be able to control it in any way, shape or form, but at least it would heat your food up. You can still do this today, and a lot of hikers do this by getting little cat food tubs and pouring liquid in there and using that, so it's quite easy. I have an example here what you can still use as a fuel stove. This fits onto the bottom of a metal mug and it's something that I've used throughout my time in the army, especially in Afghanistan. Liquid fuel stoves are quite handy because no matter where you are, you should be able to get some sort of liquid that you can pour in it and light, and they're not that hard to make. You don't have to go out and buy it, you can just get a nice little tub yourself. I've got this little tub here, which as you can see, it's got an area here where I can easily put fuel in, and there's quite a big surface area here that I can also use to put fuel in, light it, and my food's cooking. This stove here is very basic. It can also be filled with fuel, but it also has a particular fuel tablet that goes in that you can light, and it's flammable. This is what they're using currently in the British Army. Nice and simple. As you can see, it folds open, folds closed. Your fuel tablet in the middle, light it, and then put your metal mug or your pot on top. Nice and basic. This is a cook set that I used when I went to Afghanistan and after. Great little set. They do connect together quite well, and you can also get a water bottle that fits in perfectly. Problem is, these are a little bit heavy. Great for the days that I used it in. However, moving on to a lot better kit and a lot lighter kit. But this can be used with all manners of fuel, whether it's going to be liquid fuel or just putting branches in. Light it, and then I can still cook my food as it is. So this little stove is quite diverse, lots of different fuel options, and it should fit lots of different pots as well. So moving on from liquid fuel, we've got our gas stoves. This old one I had quite a few years ago, it's quite big. This is quite an oversized stove, it doesn't collapse very well. I use this more on car camping trips. Got a good burner, but for wild camping, backpacking, it's not the greatest. When it came to gas stoves, something new came on the market, revolutionised it, was the jet boil. Back in the day, this was the big thing, especially in the army. I remember being in a promotion course, everyone had one of these. It was back in 2011, and I decided I had to move away from the stoves I was using and get something like this, especially something that boiled water very, very quickly. And all of our food that we use in the army is all water boil based kind of stuff, boil in the bags. So that was a game changer for me. This is the Jet Boil Flash. It was very, very good in its day. It's also got a little heat indicator as well, lets you know when the water's fully boiled. It's got this good heat system here that helps heat the pot up without using lots and lots of fuel. It's also got its own little cozy that's round it as well, with its own little handle, so you can drink with it as well. It's got a little lid here with gaps so you can pour the water out. Everything's self-contained within it. Flash came with this little pot stand. And we have the burner itself. This is quite old, it did have a piezo igniter on it, but it's broke off, so always have a lighter as backup anyway, but it still works. However, as time went on, I found a few flaws in it. When it was very, very cold, the gas would start to freeze up and the jet boil massively lost all of its power. So it was not great for trying to cook things in the cold. It's also quite bulky. There's a lot of stuff here. Even though all happily clips together, still a big system, and I know that a lot of people still use these, and there's a lot of smaller versions of these, but it's still massively bulky. At the time I bought this, it was only about £50. These are now going well above the £100 mark. So the jet boils are quite an expensive option. Set the jet boil up, we've got our fuel, we've got a little platform here that fits into the fuel. Find a nice stable area. You've then got your pot and the fuel, connecting them up. There is points that allows you to connect them to. And then finding your bite point when screwing it on. Simple as that. For me, the jet boil was just too big and bulky for backpacking or kind of hiking kind of stuff. Using it in the army was fine, but I wanted something better. And as I said, the cold affected it, and I wanted to be able to cook my food in the cold, so I had to look around to see what options there were. I looked into some of these fuel stoves that they take up the mountains, but I also found that there was a gas version of them out there. Found this little stove from Terra Hikers. This is it here. Instead of the fuel fitting directly at the bottom of the stove, it fits on at the end of this cord. This means that your stove's got a lower profile, so when it comes to high winds, try to block the wind. It's a lot easier than having a stove that sits high up on a fuel can and then your pot sits even higher. There's more of a risk of your pot getting knocked over if you're using that type of stoves. So I went and looked for something like this. Nice and simple. It's got a decent little size. Fold the arms out. It's got little legs that fold out. Also comes with a little piezo igniter, which is quite good. Finding a nice area to put it on. Getting your fuel can. Screwing your fuel can on. And then at the end, you've got your regulator here, so you can regulate the temperatures. Now, as I said, I wanted a stove that could cook in the cold, and as we know, when the gas is cold, it starts to freeze up. This type of stove gives you a little edge on that. So by simply putting the gas on, lighting the stove. Now, if this wasn't too powerful, there wasn't a lot of fuel coming through, what you can do is you can lift the fuel can upside down, and as you can see, we get a flamethrower effect. Turn the gas round, it turns back to normal. When the gas is freezing, it won't be as strong as it is here, but at least it will give you a bit more power, more than likely to the power levels you'd expect with a gas stove, and it will cook your food a lot faster than the things like jet boilers and stuff where you can't flip the gas can upside down. Also, combined with its low profile, makes it a lot easier to build a barricade around it and block off the wind. And if you did have a nice pot on top, it's a lot lower and it's a lot easier to catch or prevent from it getting knocked off. This stove comes with its own little plastic carrying case. To be quite honest, I wouldn't be taking it in the field with this, but when you come back to your house, it's a good place to store it. Even though it's a decent little size, it fits quite nicely into a 750ml pot with still space for the gas bottle to fit in. The lid doesn't exactly fit perfectly, but it all sits in quite happily. Still a bit bulky though, and I'll put the weights up here for you. Eventually something else came in the market and replaced this for me. So I knew what kind of stove I wanted. I still liked the idea of a low profile stove which had the cord that would have the gas can kind of sitting off the side. I know there's lots of good stoves out there, from the MSR Pocket Rocket and the Soto Windmaster. All great stoves, but for me, they all sit too high. So I can't deal with the wind as easy, and I don't want my pot falling. Eventually an upgrade did come out. This is the stove I've went for now. This is a titanium alloy stove. I'll put the information up for me here. Same sort of idea. All folds out. and you've got your hose here that fits on to where your gas is. So all folds out, quite happy, legs pop out. Find a nice flat surface, get in your pot and screwing it on. This one does not come with a piezo igniter though, so it keeps the weight down. Nice and easy to start. And again, turn the pot upside down in the cold, increases the heat, increases the power coming through, so I can actually cook decent food. It's got a nice surface area, so I can cook quite happily on it. And because it's titanium, it doesn't retain the heat, so it cools down a lot easier, so you can pack it away a lot faster. This is what it looks like collapsed. Ideally, I would like it to be a little bit smaller, but it's still a good size and it's very, very light. However, even a very low profile stove is still susceptible to the wind, so a nice little windbreak like this one from Amazon, all folds out, it's all aluminium, and this can help protect your stove. Simply just placing it around, still got plenty of space to get your pot in there. Blocks off all the wind quite happily. It also folds up quite nicely. And it comes with its own little bag. This, as light as it is, still not as light as I'd like. What I moved on to is a titanium one. It's this titanium foil, very, very thin. All rolls out, as you can see, and it fits right round my stove. Again, I can put my pot inside. Totally seals it off from the wind. Even though it's foil, it's still really strong, and then all you need to do is just roll it all the way back up. So as you can see, I've used lots of different stoves, I've owned lots of different stoves, and this little titanium one at the moment is the best one for me. As I said, yes, you've got your Soto Windmasters, you've got your MSR Pocket Rockets, which probably a bit more fuel efficiently. Pocket Rocket's definitely a lot smaller than this, but I really like the design. I love the option of having this cord with the fuel can away, and as you saw, flipping upside down really helps in the cold weather. I have used this on backpacking trips while camping the Scottish Munros, and I will be using this on Mount Blanc, and more than likely this will be the little one that I use when I go and do the Pacific Crest Trail. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you again on our next video.